Hey friends and family, happy 2025. I'm not sure if I released any videos since the new year happened. I think today is January 5th. Well, it's Sunday. So I hope all is well. I received a package. Now don't hate me. I'm not trying to enable you. Sincerely, most sincerely, I began this channel due to a passion of tarot and a deep wish to leave a legacy for my descendants. Some of you may recall seeing me speak about this in other videos. But, you know, once all your relatives pass away, it's too late to wonder about who they were, you know. And by the time I was thoughtful enough to want to really dig in deep, about who my ancestors were. They were all deceased, and my parents never thought to share certain things about memories they had of their grandparents. And I was able, in the years since, to do digging and do some ancestry work and stuff like that. But one grandmother in particular, I made an effort to really dig as much as I could because no stories were shared about. Very few stories were shared about her, and I've mentioned her before on this channel. Her name was Josefa Adega y Lopez. She was Spanish, but also Portuguese. She had a mix of both bloods. And I just thought like I would create my channel for the benefit of my descendants who perhaps someday would be interested to know a little bit about who I am, and that's why I started this channel. Now, in the process, because my passion is tarot, and in the process of sharing who I am and showing some of my tarot decks and doing readings, to show how I handle the cards or how I approach the cards. It never occurred to me, really, that above and beyond my family, there would be other people interested. And so I have to most sincerely thank all of you who participate in subscribing and liking my channel from time to time. And, but I want you to know that I'm not doing it to influence anybody or to enable anybody. I do it from a sincere passion, of loving tarot, loving the history of tarot. I was an art, I still am, but I was geared toward the arts. I went to professional art school, Temple University's Tyler School of Art, and in the 70s. And so I had a leaning, of course, toward art and beautiful things. And my interest in tarot was just joint hand in hand with loving tarot. So that's it. Okay, so don't be thinking like I'm trying to shove things down your throat or anything like that. I just want to showcase some decks that I think are beautiful. And the one in this box is going to be beautiful. Now, for some of you, you may have watched Masha's live 2 nights ago. I think it was Friday night with Marco Benedetti. Just talking about his decks from 2024 and what's coming in 2025. And this is his first deck of 2025. So let me open and show you. And it's taken everything I've had not to open this box and peek. I'm looking at it for the first time, as you are. As you may recall, and for those of you who do purchase Marco's decks, usually they are all packaged in wrapping paper that he's created. And I'm not sure, this one must be the Roman. I think he calls it the Roman. Rider-Waite-Smith. Sarton Flamand by Marco Benedetti. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Vandenborre, Vandenboer is very similar. I think this one came first. And for sure, I will do a side-by-side comparison between this one and the Vandenboer. But Marco says that this one came first. It is his first deck of 2025. Sarton Flamand, Brussels, circa 1750. Made by hand by Marco Benedetti, expressly for Marilyn, Daria. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Marco. Okay. Let me flip the camera and get to it. Now, this is a true facsimile. Marco purchased the original of this deck, and he said it was in pristine condition, in such excellent condition that he didn't even need to cover any blemishes because they were so minor that it wasn't even worth the trouble. Marco says that it's extremely similar to the Vandenboer, with the difference being primarily that the Vandenboer changed the border. I apologize for coughing. Isn't it interesting? They retained the 3 legs of the TDM. I apologize in advance for all the coughs I'm going to do. Look at the color. Oh my gosh. And look at that. La Ratalou. Things get lost in translation, right? When a cultural thing migrates from country to country, things get lost in translation. And this is, I think, a good example. Look at the things on it. Oh, this is unreal. This is unbelievable how clean that is. And here are the backs. And the backs are, the Vandenboer backs are very similar to this. Look at the quality of how this deck, how these cards are fabricated. Look at that. You see the grooves or ridges. I'm not a deck creator, so I don't know the proper language. Wow. The Spanish captain. So this deck is an exact facsimile. Marco showed his original side by side with his publication, and everything was spot on. And they have similar eagles too, with the exception of the direction that their heads are turning. Bacchus in place of either Jupiter or the Pope. And of course, I forgot to mention that the Spanish captain is in place of the female Pope or Juno. L'amour. The canopy. Cupid holds a canopy, not a bow and arrow, but a canopy over the heads of the lover and perhaps his 2 love interests, or the officiate, or In this particular, we're not sure. We're not really sure who the three folks are. I mean, we know from past experience. Oh, look at that. I appreciate that justice is looking at us directly and that the scales are skewed. She has wings. And of course, her sword. The hermit, who's got the capuchin brown to him. He's got a book and a walking stick, which may serve as a sundial at the daytime. That's either a hood or a hunchback. And something that has happened frequently when the tarot migrated to other countries, the understanding of the Hanged One was either misunderstood and printed with the words and the number to show a standing individual. I've done a blog post on They Hung Prudence. If I can find my blog article, I'll link it down below so you can read about that. I mean, this is the way it was printed. So I will leave it this way in the deck. I understand it to be the Hanged One, but it's not how it's presenting. We have death. Notice that death is identified with a name. Trimpants. So I don't know if that is like, well, it could be their language. Maybe it's not maybe it's not a mistranslation. Maybe I was wrong to speak on that previously. I don't know enough to know it. We do know that in some printings of Temperance that the Fama Soul was written in reverse, and so that the image was reversed, but this one is not. This one is printed in the proper direction. Gotta love the Flemish devil. Foudre. So we see similarities too with like a deck like Via Veal. And maybe when I do the side-by-side with Van den Boer, I'll throw the Via Veal in also, so we can see the comparison. The Thunderer. Here we have the astrologer for the star, l'étoile, or l'étoile. Interestingly, the woman is spinning her thread in the evening. Now we've seen this image for the sun, which makes sense because you would think it would be an activity to be done during the day. We also have a front-facing moon. Could it have been a conscious decision to change it to the moon, to associate this with women's work and the feminine? I don't know. Oh, this is going to be so nice to use. You know, I'm not a particular fan of TDM. You know, it's just, in general, the TDM deck. And trust me, I have dozens of TDM decks, so it's not like I'm saying I don't like them. But I have a preference for the Italian, and then if we're going to talk TDM, then for the Flemish and Swiss decks. You know, because they're just more, maybe they're influenced to some degree by the Italians, right? Maybe there's some influence that crossed, more influence from the Italian than from the French. I don't know. Don't listen to me. What do I know? But now see, I love a world card that looks like this. And here we have the Fool, numbered with as 22. And the little animal is making contact with his breeches. There's contact there. That pant is in his mouth. This is really beautiful. We see this in the Adam c1750 too. I'll pull that one out. I'll compare. Oh, I don't know if it's going to be, I'll be able to do it in one video, but I'll compare this also. So stay tuned with the Via Veal, with the Vandenboer, and with the Adam c1750. Now here we have the 3 in reverse. Okay. So there's a possibility that although the Temperance card was properly printed, right? It's possible then that some of the cards may have been printed in the wrong direction. If the Hanged Man was the only one that was, I could say, well, maybe they did it on purpose, but there are others, and there would be no reason for printing, numbers in reverse. Now, my instinct would be to upright this for the plant to grow upwards. But I will leave it as it came to me. Wow, look at that. Now see, these plants are going up. The 9 and 10 are properly labeled. It's hard to tell if the 8 is, well, but it seems like it is because of the flower. Do we have a 7 here? Nope. She's wearing her ermine. The king is a man of action. He's out in the real world. He's outside. Love, love, love the variation in the Ace of Cups of the Flemish and Swiss tarot decks. How can you not feel positive or happy when looking at this deck? Look at this. Look at if this doesn't say celebration and good time. When I do readings, I try to bring the most optimistic or the most positive interpretation, because I want people to feel good about themselves, and I want them to feel good about ways that they can improve their life, or I want the suggestions to come through looking optimistic rather than using, I have a few sinister looking decks, don't get me wrong. I have a few, and there's a time and place. But in general, when people come to me, or for myself even, or any of my loved ones, and I do readings, I really want to present it with the most optimistic spin, and I think a deck like this just makes it easy to bring hope and joy. There's my boyfriend. So he's got either a lid. He's not carrying a hat because his hat, he's got something on his head already. Not too sure what it is. So there's remains some ambiguity about what's going on, but it works. Does he have ermine? An ermine trimmed cape? I don't know. Could he be overindulged or spoiled? Is that little detail? The other page did not. The other page is older too. The Queen again is in ermine, as is the King. It was funny last night, the other night when I was watching the live show with Masha and Marco, and he's got like the 250-year-old deck in his hand, and he's riffle shuffling. Oh my God, he's riffle shuffling the old deck, and I think everybody clutched their pearls like, oh my God. But that's what they were made for, right? They were made to be played with. They were cards. They were a game. They were made for this purpose. When I was in my early days of reading tarot, I was more precious about them, and I was more like overhand shuffling, more frequently than not. But, overhand shuffling damages the edges of a deck. And if you think of it, you have to know the deck creator. I know Marco's decks are fine to be riffle shuffled. He makes them to be riffle shuffled. But some other, some cards are a little more delicate maybe, and, but so maybe you just got to know the deck, right? No ermine on him. Perhaps a touch on the queen, none on the king. Cards of Swiss fabrication by Sarton. For those who can understand this, I'm holding it there for your benefit. Du Sarton. So beautiful. I suppose in some way when you see the coins with their floral diamond or whatever maybe it wasn't floral, but whatever that design is. I mean, I guess I could see how occultists would come and say, oh, let's make it a pentagram. It reminded them. Now here, look, we have a 4 of coins, which would be, of course, different to the Vandenborg because it would have the Sarton coat of arms. And there's, fluidity, there's just, it's just beautiful. Just beautiful. So, as far as TDM goes, I know maybe it's not rightfully TDM because it wasn't created in France, see? Or created in Marseille, but it's gorgeous, This variant of TDM is just beautiful. Okay, let me set ermine in the queen and king both of coin. Let me do a few riffle shuffles for you. It is a thicker deck. I'm going to do my riffle shuffling in 2 parts. And mind you, I don't think you can see the cards. I'm doing this through, gotta love 60s technology. It hears the sound when my light is on. I'm doing this through the lens of my camera, so I can't really see what I'm doing. Do this one. You can hear it. And let me give it a shot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but because it is a thick deck. Can be done. Well, there we have it. I hope you appreciate this beautiful deck as much as I do, and helps fill your understanding of tarot and how it spreads from one country to another and what influences it picks up from here and there. It's just an endless source of fascination for me, and I appreciate the tarot decks. I'm not trying to be an influencer, anything like that. I'm just a sincere individual who loves tarot. Is happy to I've been blessed to be able to have a wonderful collection. And what's the point of having it if I'm not sharing it, right? To show and share, and to just share some information that I might have about some of my decks. You know, I'm getting older and I'm beginning to slip a little bit. I notice that I'm not remembering things as I once did. You know, somebody mentioned to me that I have forgotten more than some people ever learn, which I thought was a great compliment. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm not, I'm not as sharp as I used to be. But my appreciation and love and passion for tarot is still here, and Marco just delights the soul. Thank you, Marco, for putting out another wonderful deck. And the first deck of 2025 is a hit. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, and be kind.